beware. Yeah, sorry I had to flex the merch there a little bit, but welcome back, my Fast Pass Riders, to Viewer Beware. It's the only show where we go over each and every episode of the original Goosebumps TV series, and tonight we are watching One Day at Horrorland. This is it, people. This is the big shebang. This is the one book that had the most sequels, spin-offs, merch, everything. R.L. Stine himself said that this was his favorite book of the entire Goosebumps run.
Second only to The Haunted Mask, of course.
Yeah, buddy. It's up there. But the concept of One Day at Horrorland is perfect on paper. I mean, you have a haunted theme park. Just the imagery of that is, it evokes a lot. But you got to keep in mind the budget of the time. This was meant to premiere on Canadian YTV channel and the Fox Kids block. So not even primetime television in America. So they're not really throwing Netflix or Amazon dollars at this thing.
What about Tubi money?
Yeah, that's probably a lot closer, but to make a whole theme park happen, that's going to cost some money, and we don't really see the budget for the series increase until season 4, which we did kind of check out with How I Got My Shrunken Head. And you can see that the scenery is much more expansive. There's more actors. There's a lot more there because the budget's bigger. Unfortunately, because Scholastic and Protocol Entertainment were starting to stagnate in ratings with Goosebumps around season 3, they had to kind of do some more, and that meant pulling out the big guns, so, it's Horrorland's time to shine, before that bigger budget came in. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But let's not dwell on that now. One Day at Horrorland is the story of a family that's lost, comes upon a roadside attraction, figures out it's way more dangerous than it probably should be. Sure, we've seen it before, but have we seen it with talking decapitated heads? I don't think so. So, let's get our fast passes ready, swipe our tickets, get our wristbands, and enjoy One Day at Horrorland. This adventure begins with our family of 4 lost in the middle of nowhere, with Dad stubbornly refusing to ask for directions or listen to his children's complaints.
Are we almost there yet?
Luke, now you know the rules. Don't keep asking me, are we there yet? Because you'll know we're there when we're there.
The Morris family is on vacation to Zoo Gardens, but Dad got so lost he's somehow not on a road anymore. But not to be deterred, he powers through until some wild shit goes down. Really, what the hell was that? But who cares? Looks like they made it to Horrorland, baby! Upon hearing the prospect of a horror theme park, the kids abandon all desire to see Zoo Gardens and want to get scared. So the family bravely drives towards the roller coasters on the skyline. As the Morris family pulls into the parking lot, they seem not to realize that there aren't a lot of cars here, but they're too excited by the mystery theme park to care. However, we the viewers see the park has some devious plans for the family. At the ticket gate, the Morris family meet their first Horrorland horror.
Welcome to Horrorland.
Oh, what a great costume. Yeah, pretty scary looking.
Thank you.
The family gets a free pass as special guests, but immediately run into yet another horror.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, hello. First time at Horrorland?
Stay off the guillotine ride. Sharp turns.
No talking.
So these horrors had the power to keep people alive as just a head. Very concerning, but also intriguing. Anyway, the kids run off to explore the park alone, but as they wander about, they come across a family with a little girl bawling her eyes out, just before a horror sneaks up to them giving a cryptic warning.
Get out! While you still can!
You scared him. That wasn't very nice.
You shouldn't be here! It's not safe!
The kids choose to ignore this specific warning and assume it was just an actor playing up their part, so they head off to get on a ride, which ends up being the House of Mirrors, which isn't really a ride, but let's just ignore that. Inside the House of Mirrors, the kids have fun with the distorted reflections before Luke runs off on his own, leaving Lizzie alone with only her reflections to keep her company. Or are they?
What's happening? Where's my reflection?
Looks like Lizzie has a mirror-traveling stalker chasing her down. We switch scenes to what the parents are doing, which is finding a bar. Meanwhile, Lizzie is about to get crushed in the mirror maze. But the parents are about to get crunk off this monster punch. So eventually Lizzie falls through a hole in the floor and ends up at the exit visibly shaken from the possible squashing. But Luke is stoked and wants to get on the whitewater coffin cruise, convincing Lizzie to join him.
Let's go on another ride. Are you crazy? They tried to crush me. That makes it too scary. One more ride. I don't want to.
Oh, come on, Lizzie, or I'll tell Alan Markowitz you think he's cute.
Go ahead.
And that you wrote Mrs. Lizzie Markowitz 200 times on the inside of your notebook.
You better not.
One more ride?
Fine.
Meanwhile, the parents are worried about the kids being out on their own when they notice the horrors shove a scared family into an employee-only room, scaring the mother even more. We snap back to the kids getting placed in their coffin rafts and sent down the river. The raft ends up being somewhat relaxing until the lids snap shut, which is a claustrophobic nightmare.
Deep breaths. 1, 2.
Get me out of here!
Luke doesn't seem to mind it too much though, so cue the tarantula, which almost makes him shit his pants. But the experience doesn't last too long as the coffin swings open and Luke jumps out, both kids now thoroughly over the Horrorland gimmick. The kids try to find their parents but walk through the woods for some odd reason and get lost immediately, but turns out their parents had the same idea and run into the kids as they all scour through the trees. The Morris family then rushes out to the parking lot but notices the gates are padlocked shut.
Guys, look at this. No exit. No one leaves Horrorland alive.
So the Morris family is trapped in the park, and the horrors are dropping the whole pretense of customer service. Not a very good way to sell those season passes.
That park sucked anyway.
Now I know you're mad at Mr. Stein's comments about favorite books, but let's not go ahead and slander Horrorland because of that. And now I know it is a little underwhelming with the lack of defined pathways or pavement or, you know, really anything that makes a theme park feel like a theme park. But there's a reason for that. This is because instead of spending the money to actually rent out an amusement park to film out of, they just went to Canada's Serena Gundy Park, which is a beautiful 62-hectare plot of nature with meadows, forests, and wetlands, but you know what it doesn't have? A roller coaster.
That explains all the time getting lost in the woods.
Exactly, so we're really not off to a hot start with the iconic theme park imagery, but you know, we did see some rides and attractions and a little souvenir stand, so they did some cool stuff with what they had available. The book also had some attractions that weren't in the episode, which is the Bat Barn and the Doom Slide. Also, the book had a 5th character in the family. Well, not really in the family, he's just a kid named Clay that's friends with Luke that went on vacation with them. But they just kind of cut him out entirely, I'm assuming just for time purposes, and what else could he add that the two kids weren't already doing, you know? But that's about where we're at. The family wants to leave, and the horrors won't let them. We're gonna see how this goes, and I bet if you've never seen this, you will never guess what happens in part 2. It's just wild, off the wall. So with that being said, let's jump to the stunning conclusion of One Day at Horrorland. Roll it.
Now you listen to me. Now we have a right to leave whenever we want. Now you take off that stupid mask and talk to me man to man.
So they just now found out the horrors aren't costumes and are real monsters. So they run for their lives. Eventually they're rounded up into the employee room, which turns out to be quite a surprise.
I said, who's there?
Let's hear it for the Morris family, everybody! Put together for the Morrises!
The Morrises have apparently been on a TV show, which is sort of like a monster version of Punk'd, for the past few hours, and have had no idea until just now as the host replays all of their embarrassing moments.
Here are some clips of the Morris family staying calm. Let's watch them in super slow-mo.
Eventually the show wraps up and the lights go down, but the host offers the family to take part in their next program, a game show called Raw Deal. The family just wants to go home, but the monsters sweeten the pot by offering the family a chance to win a brand new car, a classic game show staple. Greedily, the parents accept the offer, and the family is escorted to hair and makeup to be made over by the exaggeratedly effeminate horror decked out in bright pink.
You're not gonna hurt us, are you?
Darling, we're monsters, but we're not monsters.
The family gets out of makeup and goes back out to set to start the game show. As soon as the show starts, the host Wretch splits the family up and reveals that they will be competing against each other. The parents are ecstatic because it means they can't lose, but the kids sense something fishy is going on here. Wretch lays out the confusing rules.
Each of these cards represents a dollar value. You will pick a card. The object of the game is to guess a letter. Now, if the letter guessed appears on our puzzle board back here, you will win the amount of money on the card you picked and a chance to solve the puzzle.
I don't get it.
Doesn't matter. Nobody does.
After the parents' turn ends, we cut to some amazing commercials on Monster Cable.
Let's watch this important message. Now, for the first time on one CD, greatest monster love songs. You'll get Your Heart Is in My Pocket and Your Lips Are in My Drawer. And Get in the Mood with Wart to Wart. And who can forget, I Want to Hold Your Claws. This is a limited one-time offer, 50 monster love hits, and if you order now, you'll get My Flesh Is Crawling Over to You. And so much more. 50 monster love hits. Just call 1-700-MONSTER.
Apparently during the touching commercial, the kids had been guessing their letters and take a guess at the puzzle.
Ready to solve the puzzle?
Yes, you see, the answer is the Morse family is lucky.
Wrong answer. Here's some worms, loser. Next up is the parents' turn to guess.
The Morris family is lunch?
Dun, dun.
You're right!
They get the puzzle right, but what the hell does that mean? Well, we're gonna have to wait until after these messages.
Hey, monster kids, now you can have hours of fun with your very own human figures. Scare them, smash them, eat them. They're your own humans. You get dad, mom, brother, and sis. Put them in water, throw them in the air, or just jump up and down on them. Human action figures. Grandma sold Zipper.
And we're back to cut the deck, whatever that means. So the family won their car. Or have they? The family has to take one last challenge. It's a 50-50 shot of either opening a door to a new car or a door to getting torn to shreds by a wolf. How fun.
Now, there you are. You have chosen door number 1. So, say hello to Ripper!
The Morris family gets shoved down into Ripper's dungeon where they're confronted by tons of human remains. The family mentally prepares themselves to be mauled to death before a horror busts them out of the dungeon at the last second and takes them outside. The horror that breaks them out is named Bleck, and he despises Wretch for stealing his job as the host of Raw Deal.
Wretch Sniff, Tui, what a no talent! Listen to this. Welcome back to Raw Deal. You see, I'm great, but I'm not the producer's brother-in-law. You know how that works.
Well, you should have been.
So he lets the family go to hurt Wretch's ratings. All's well that ends well. Holy shit, Bleck just got murdered. The family is panicking now, trying to get back to their car while being chased down by horrors. After running for a while, the family stumbles across a landfill of previous families' belongings, showing that these horrors killed a lot of families for entertainment this way. Eventually the horrors find them and the family keeps running until they finally get to the parking lot and lock themselves in their car while the horrors smash at the windows. Eventually Dad gets the car moving and darts out of the Horrorland gate. But suddenly he starts drifting the car all over the place.
What's wrong with the steering?
There sure is, because you're not steering it. I am. Whoa! Now that's what I call a cliffhanger. Will the Morris family ever get out of Horrorland? Tune in next week to the Monster Channel.
I am sick of these scary human shows. Well, perhaps we should just talk.
That's a good idea. Ooh. Cockroach?
Oh, thank you, darling.
Can you wrap your head around what we just saw here?
I'm 90% head and I barely got around it.
What's the other 10%? You know what? I don't even care. So part 1 was just a very intricate hidden camera show. Who would have guessed? But here's where the book and the adaptation differ just slightly. In the book, there is no game show. The Morris family are still on a hidden camera show, but the horrors just offer them a new car, sort of as a prize for being good sports. And when they go to get the car, they just get pushed out to the Ripper, and they have to avoid getting eaten, which they eventually do. And they get in a car, they drive all the way home, and they find out that a horror was clinging to the back of their car the entire drive. And then when they park at home, he's like, hey, here's some season passes, come on back.
That honestly sounds like a sweet deal.
I mean, that's true. If you just avoid being eaten, you could come home with a new car like every summer. But anyway, I unironically loved the game show and the incredibly stupid ads. It felt like the Rick and Morty interdimensional cable bit like 20 years before that happened. And it really feels like it structured a lot of what I thought humor was when I was watching this when I was like 6 years old. It's top notch. As far as endings go, it feels like the episode kind of took the book ending of the blob that ate everyone, with the human story just kind of being media that the monsters of the story are enjoying outside of the plot. And I like that. I like that more than the book, because as goofy as it is that a guy is holding onto your car and driving all the way home with you, it's not a very strong twist. The family's safe, whatever. But then in the episode, they're dangling off a cliff. They're in mortal peril, and then we just flash out to a couple being like, nah, I'm tired of watching this. Like, imagine if Survivor had people like literally drowning and like in horrible danger, and you're just, I'm bored. Let's cut this out. Let's go eat some chips. Crazy. So my hands are tied here. I have to give One Day at Horrorland 5 bumps out of 5. It is, you gotta watch it. You can't skip this one. It's a must-see television event. Well, I guess it's streaming event now because nobody watches television anymore. But you have to watch it. And I mean, I can entertain the thought that people wouldn't like it because the theme park's a little underwhelming and the game show kind of comes out of nowhere. But taking all these parts into consideration, I feel like it adds to the charm of what this is, because the horrors aren't, actually running a theme park. They're just scaring humans for entertainment purposes. It's like if you watch an episode of Punk'd, you're not gonna see Ashton Kutcher build like an entire restaurant or like a real thing. I guess Punk'd is an old one. You get it, a prank show. Watch a prank show. Watch a prank YouTuber. They're not gonna build an entire business just to scare somebody one time. Crazy. It doesn't make any sense. So take that into account. 5 out of 5. Check it out. And if you are ever lost in what looked like a beachy climate, there are a lot of seagulls there. Be careful, because bad things happen at roadside attractions. I mean, that could have went a lot darker than it did. I mean, there were a lot of dead bodies. I guess that was dark. Well, I mean, it could go like the Wrong Turn movies, which is that's dark in a whole other way. You want to avoid that one. If I had my choice between that and Horrorland, I'm going Horrorland. 9 times out of 10. There are a lot of bad Wrong Turn movies, like bad and bad. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Just don't, go off the side of the road to freak shows or whatever. I'll see you guys later. I've been talking too long. Bye-bye. Also, subscribe if you've lasted this long.
Don't lollygag now. We haven't got all day. Right, there we are. All right, we have some lovely snacks here if you'd care to partake. There we are. Some Eye of Doyle, Ear of Holyfield, Booger Surprise.
No thanks.
No? Suit yourself.